So everybody meet Thomas Wells, the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Liberland. So how's it going?
Thank you, Maverick. It's great to be here. Yeah, it's we did. It was great meeting you back in July at Freedom Fest out in Las Vegas, and
Wow, that was July. That time moves, man. That's crazy.
it sure does. It flies like a bird, and
Yeah.
we're over here. I'm originally from the U.S., of course, but I'm over here in Liberland. We have a village right on the Danube River, and in addition to the land itself. The land itself is between two countries, Croatia and Serbia, and neither one of those countries claim that land. So that's how Liberland came about little over 9 years ago. My good friend Vit Yedlichka, our president, and a few other people found that land and planted a flag there and said, "Hey, we're gonna make it a new country." So they proclaimed the Free Republic of Liberland on April 13, 2015. So it'll be going on 10 years this coming April.
Wow. So for those watching and don't know, have any idea what we're talking about. So Liberland, like you said, is a new sovereign nation. It's the freest nation as advertised in the world, correct?
That's right. We base our ideas, our inspiration on freedom and individual rights, and of course, individual responsibility. And we don't, taxation in Liberland is totally voluntary. You don't have to pay taxes. Of course, you can. And when you do pay taxes, you have more of a say in how the country is run. But we don't force anybody to pay taxes, and we can't put you in jail for not paying them, unlike in
Right.
most other countries.
Right, right, which is very interesting. That was one of the things I found to be, for one, a breath of fresh air because, well, a lot of people don't know when it comes to the US that taxes is nowhere in the Constitution, but they make it to where it's this thing if you don't pay it, you go to jail. Now, before the 1930s, the US survived off of tariffs. And I think that where we were and where we have gone and where we're at now is a completely different landscape. And slowly but surely, all of our rights are being taken away. And it's crazy to think that if you don't pay taxes, something that's not in the Constitution, you go to jail, you get your freedom taken away. So having this voluntary tax is it's amazing. I think it's if you do want to support and do want to contribute, then you can, but you shouldn't be penalized otherwise. So I think that's a great start of building a new country.
Exactly. And when I first heard about it, I was so excited too. And that was one of the things that excited me. Yeah, in the United States, we've had the income tax since what? They introduced it, I think it was 1913, but it wasn't much. It was just a very small percentage on higher income earners. And they
And
started,
it used to be voluntary.
right.
Yeah.
You filed it and then, you paid it, but they kept ratcheting it up and they kept adding more layers of laws and requirements with it. And now we're burdened with the tax code in the United States, which if you look at it, I forgot what's the length of the tax code? Something like 90,000 pages or something
Yeah.
ridiculous like that. Whether it's 90,000 or 100,000 or 50,000, still it's a lot.
It's a
You know,
lot. Right.
right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So um so how did you come to be the foreign affairs, the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Liberland?
Well, I started out. Well, I contacted Vit very shortly after Liberland started, and I said, "Hey, this is very interesting. I'm really interested in Europe and especially Eastern Europe and former Yugoslavia." And I said, "Hey, there any mines in this area? Because they mined with landmines a lot of the areas where they were fighting. And luckily, Liberland doesn't have any landmines. I actually did some research and presented that to Vit. I said, luckily, there is no landmines here. And, because a little bit inland, there was quite a bit of fighting between the Serbs and the Croatians. And that fighting was pretty brutal. And unfortunately, they left a lot of landmines in the ground. And they're
Oh wow.
still they've cleaned up most of them, but there's still some areas where they could be mined. They just don't know. But
Mm.
luckily, Liberland is not in the area, which was filled up with landmines.
Right, right. Speaking of landmines, sidebar, I just saw something to where they actually found a landmine in Japan that went off at an airport
Oh
from
wow!
like World War II or something. And
Right,
it
right.
was like super old and they're still finding those. So
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
I used to live in Germany when I worked in the German Parliament, and I worked for the U.S. Embassy in Bonn and Berlin, and in Hamburg and Berlin and other places. They would find every now and then when they were doing construction or reconstruction of a building, they would find a bomb uh,
Wow.
that hadn't exploded since World War II, and of course they send in the team to deactivate it and get it out of there. So they're still finding them here and there. Right here in the Danube, there was a huge battle, the Battle of Batina in early 1945, and the river was really low about 2 or 3 years ago, and they were finding vehicles from that battle in the river, right out there, right outside
Wow.
our door here, and
Wow.
the legacy is quite substantial.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so if a person wanted to find Liberland on a map, where is it exactly? Because I know a lot of people are kind of confused. They don't know where it is exactly, or if it's actual land that you can go on. So explain that a little bit more.
But yes, it is, and it's between well, it's in the Balkans, which is that sort of a mountainous, not peninsula, but piece of land in southeastern Europe. Uh, it's between, like, imagine you're going down to Turkey and Greece. This is right before you get to Turkey and Greece. This is the Balkans. It's basically on where Yugoslavia used to be. Of course, Yugoslavia broke up in the 1990s, and some of the former Yugoslav republics started to go to war with one another. This land is between Serbia and Croatia, and then it's on the Danube River. Of course, the Danube is very famous. There's a lot of in popular culture, of course. There's the Blue Danube Waltz, which is a famous waltz that people know. We're right on the Danube River. It's just south of Hungary. Hungary is, of course, where Budapest is, and that's a lovely place to visit. It's just up the road a few hours. So we're between Croatia and Serbia, and just south of Hungary, right on the Danube River. So that's where we're at.
Got you, got you. So there's so many different things going on since you guys have been established. For one, you guys are blockchain based, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that I've been preaching to everybody, where everything is going. The future of finance is going in there, real estate, everything, you name it. Everything's going to be tokenized on the blockchain. And you guys are getting ahead of the curve with this. So, how did that come to be, and what is the mechanisms and the process in using blockchain technology in Liberland?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, that's a whole, um, that's probably a whole 3-hour show we could do on how blockchain
Right. I'm sure.
in Liberland. And basically, our token, our currency. Of course, you can use any currency in Liberland. It's a free country. We can't tell you not to use a currency, but our native token is the Liberland Merit, and that's a governance token. We also have a liquidity token, which is the Liberland Dollar, and that is already available on several exchanges, both centralized and decentralized, and it's doing pretty well. It was hovering about 1 USDT, and now it's about 3.4 USDT. Uh,
Okay, nice.
you can buy and sell it. If you're a Liberland citizen, you have a merits account, and you also have a Liberland dollar account. You can see that on our blockchain page. If you're onboarded onto our blockchain, you have a wallet, and you can transfer it to other wallets too. I have an Edge wallet on my phone, and it can accept Liberland merits and Liberland dollars. And I got the Edge wallet a couple of years ago when we sent a delegation to El Salvador. A bunch of Liberlanders decided to. We saw the news in El Salvador that they were adopting Bitcoin as legal tender. So
Right.
we were really excited about that, and I wrote a fundraising letter and sent it out to all Liberlanders. We have about 700,000 people worldwide who are signed up on the Liberland website. And we had a campaign to raise money for the Children's Hospital in San Salvador, in El Salvador. And we raised, at the time, 2021, Bitcoin was about 60K. And so we raised a little bit more than that. And we went to El Salvador, and they were very excited, and they welcomed us with open arms, and they gave us motorcade and everything. And we made a really nice donation to the Children's Hospital in San Salvador. And
Oh, wow.
President Bukele personally thanked us. We got to go to the White House, La Casa Blanca, in El Salvador, and he also personally invited us to a party that they were having, and we just felt really welcome there. And our representative in El Salvador is the cousin of El Salvador's ambassador to the United States, which is pretty interesting.
Wow, it's amazing. Man, you
Yeah,
guys are already doing some good work, and I think
yeah.
that
We're
a
trying
lot
to
of countries can take your cue, you know?
engage in the diplomacy, especially with countries who are aligned with us. Like, for example, Argentina. Javier Milei, the guy who just got elected in Argentina,
Mhm.
is a big fan of Liberland, and he's talked about Liberland in radio interviews. And once he appeared in a yellow and black costume with a big trident, and he said he was General ANCAP from Liberland, and now he's president of Argentina. And so, actually, our president Vitt is in Argentina right now as we speak, meeting with a couple of people in the Congress and seeing how we can work together with those guys.
Nice, nice. So, so the prime minister, um, where is he from? And then I saw some other news too, or not the prime minister, the president. You guys have a new prime minister, right?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Is that Justin's son from
That's
Tron?
that's Justin's son. Yes, that's right.
Wow, that's
Actually, his name's
crazy.
Sun Yu-chen is his name in Chinese, but we call him Justin. So yes,
Right.
he's our new prime minister, and he was elected on the blockchain. Uh,
Wow. So you guys did an election through blockchain.
yes, we did. We had a test election before that,
Hmm.
and then we had an actual election where people voted with their merits. The merits is like I said, it's a governance token.
Right.
So you can use it to vote, or you can use it to veto decisions that the government makes, which is really cool. Imagine being able to veto a law you don't like that the government passed. I'm sure there's many such cases of that. And
Imagine that.
yeah, yeah, in the United States, you can organize a public veto of a decision that the government makes, and you can also recall a member of Congress if you don't like what they're doing.
Wow. So for one, that solves so many problems. It speeds up the process. It makes it secure. It makes it trustworthy.
Yep, you nailed
Um,
it. You nailed
it
it.
pre- it prevents voter fraud, which is
Mhm.
huge in the U.S. right now.
Oh,
And I don't understand why more countries aren't using this. I believe that for one, it's about transparency and it's really about the people as it should be. But there's so many corrupt, like bad actors in between of all this. They want to get their hands on or try to control blockchain, which I feel like which is happening in the U.S. slowly but surely because this can easily be done years ago, right? You don't have to worry about voter fraud or anything else. Or if we want to recall somebody in Congress, like you said, that gives the power back to the people, which was the idea in the first place. So again, you guys are way ahead of the curve on this. I believe that's how the future of finance, voting, you name it. I think that's how we're gonna be transacting from now on because the people are
some
tired.
some governments are looking into that because they know it's a way to manage things more efficiently. I think maybe we talked about it a little bit. Was it Cook County, Illinois? They're looking at blockchain for deeds and titles to property.
Yes, as
Because
well.
it's transparent and you can't fraudulently file like a title or a deed, which is a
Right.
problem too. Title fraud is a big thing.
Right, for sure. Even with California, they're starting to implement IDs on the blockchain, the DMV.
Mhm.
So it's slowly getting there, but I think that again, if we don't have these bad actors in between, it'll be, you know, a nice transition into this new technology.
Yeah,
So
it's interesting to see California do that because otherwise, California, it's really
yeah.
as far as the government goes, the taxes and regulations and the cost of living. It's a lovely state. I love California, but the government is not that great. Yeah, you
Right.
mentioned Justin was elected as the prime minister. He's got quite the resume. He is the guy who was behind Tron token, TRX, and also I believe he's the owner of Poloniex Exchange and BT. He bought Rainberry, which is a BitTorrent platform, and
Oh,
he
nice.
introduced the token BTT for them. He's done a couple other things, and he's been with us a short time, but he has a lot of promise. He certainly understands the ideas of where we're going.
Of
So
course.
I fully support him, and I hope we're going to go far with him. A couple other new members of the Congress, Evan Luthra, who's like a angel investor, serial entrepreneur, very young guy, uh, very, very smart. He's a good writer too. You'll catch him on Cointelegraph. You'll catch him on a couple other crypto and blockchain outlets. So he's a really bright guy, and it's great to have him on board.
That's amazing.
Gillian Godsill, whom I've known for a couple of years, she's an Irish journalist. She's written about liberal. She's come here before. She's great. She got elected to Congress, very well qualified to be in that position. We've got Navid Sabarin, who's our finance minister, who's also a member of Congress. Mikhail Potocnik, who's our minister of justice, is also a member of the Congress. Dorian, who's our lead developer and helped develop our blockchain, which we just talked about. He's a member of Congress. He was actually in the test Congress. He was the first prime minister, but now Justin is the actual acting prime minister. We also have my good friend Ivan Pernar, who is a former member of the Croatian parliament. So
Oh,
we have
wow.
someone who knows the ropes and knows how things work over in Croatia. He made quite a name for himself when he was in office. He was in office for several years. He's quite the maverick. I like your
There you
name.
go.
Uh, and he's a friend of mine, and I'm proud to say that he's also a member of the Liberland Congress. Actually, speaking of names, with the Jet Set token, today I was driving here in Serbia, and I saw the Jet Set restaurant when I was driving on the road when I was coming back to
Oh,
the office.
really?
Yeah, and where I live in Florida, in the West Palm Beach area, my friend used to have a club called the Jet Setter Lounge,
No way.
and my band used to play there all the time. So
Very
that's
cool.
another jog in the memory there with the
Yeah.
band.
For those who don't know, you guys, I do have my own blockchain company. It's called Jet Set. Well, it's called Jet Set Lux, and the token is called Jet Set Token. It combines real estate transactions and travel to the blockchain, and we have a lot of things that we're doing. We've been out for almost 3 years, so and then hopefully we're going to be doing something at Liberland, possibly. We'll see. And but yeah, so I think that's really cool. And
Yeah, it's great stuff. I've taken a look at that, and it's really it has a lot of promise. It's like you're talking about stuff that a lot of people want, like luxury accommodations and great getaways and stuff that's really cream of the crop. And who doesn't want that sometime?
yeah, exactly,
When
exactly.
I was just in Montenegro, where I spoke to the Monte Libero Libertarian Festival. That's a group of people in the country of Montenegro, which is also a former Yugoslav republic, and they broke away. They were still together with Serbia for a while, but they broke away in the 2000s, and now they're their own country. And a bunch of people, especially a lot of people originally from Russia who came down here. Russia's pretty far away, but a lot of them have emigrated,
Yeah.
especially since the war started. And so there's a bunch of libertarian Russians in Montenegro, and they have the Monte Libero city and community down there. And that's where I was last week. And that was really nice vacation. So if you're looking for a place to get away, actually, Vitalik Buterin did his pop up city in Montenegro, very close
Oh,
to
really? Okay.
the Zuzulu. He did the Zuzulu pop up city. I think he did it in a couple places, but Montenegro is a really cool place, and Vitalik was there. I think it was last year for like 2 months. He had a pop-up city in Lushtica, which is sort of like a peninsula that goes out into the Adriatic Ocean. Man, when I was there, I had beautiful sunsets every night, and the hotel was like less than $40 a night, and it was right on the
Oh
water.
wow.
Seafood all the time, and people are nice and friendly. Just beautiful mountains in the background, and sunset in the Adriatic Sea on the and to the west. That was just really nice. I'm definitely
Yeah, that
going.
sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So going back to your government and how it's structured
Uh-huh.
compared to other countries, how is it structured? Your Congress and how like what's the layout of all that?
Well, up until now, the Congress is certain now that it's active. It's taking a bigger role in like for example, in approving the budget or making certain decisions. Whereas before, the provisional government was in charge. And I'm a member of the provisional government as the foreign minister. We also have my colleague, Dr. Tariq Abbasi from London. He's the Secretary of State, which is a similar function, but he has different competencies and different specialties. So we work together very well, actually. You have the president as the figurehead. You have the vice president as second in command. Mr. Bogi Wozniak is our vice president. He lives in Chicago. He's originally from Poland. And he's the most fluent speaker of Liberlandish, by the way. We're developing our own language, kind of. But
Whoa,
anyway,
wait. So wait, hold on. You have your own language?
yeah,
Oh wow. So wait, so what does that consist of? Like what is that? How do you
you'd
even
understand it. It's mostly English with a very heavily Slavic accent or Slavic words or malapropisms, which are kind of funny, like using the
oh
wrong word in the right place or the right word in the wrong place. It's kind of funny. We're developing a Liberlandish vocabulary, and I've been keeping tabs on that. But I don't
wow.
want to sidetrack us too much.
No, I thought that was really cool. You
Yeah,
guys have your own everything. So
yeah. I
that's
think
that's very interesting.
there's a wiki page that mentions Liberlandish as a language, and different people speak it differently. Um, I've been learning the language here as well, so I can speak it okay.
Interesting.
Anyway, back to the government question: president, vice president, uh, 4 or 5 ministers. We have Navid Sabrin, who's our minister of finance. Mikhail Potocnik, who's our Minister of Justice, myself, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Tariq Abbasi, Secretary of State, and we now have a Minister of Interior, and that's Ivan Pernar. He
Okay.
is the guy who's the member of the Croatian Parliament, who's
Right.
now in our Congress. So he's
Right.
taken, as of last week, taken on the responsibilities of the Minister of the Interior.
Got you. So Justin's role, prime minister, is to oversee all the other ministers. Is that correct?
Yeah, they basically appointed or reappointed the slate of ministers last week as well. So,
Okay.
in our Constitution, which we also have, it's the role of the Prime Minister to select the ministers of government, basically
Got you.
the current government. It's not government in the abstract, but the current government or administration has been selected by the Prime Minister.
Got you. I see. Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to see like the moving parts because it's such a new thing. Did you guys take from like different countries and kind of create your own type of scenario?
Yes, yes, we took inspiration from the American Constitution, the Swiss Constitution, Switzerland. Uh, Estonia has a very interesting constitution, and a little bit of corporate governance to make things a little bit more efficient. Um, and of course, meritocracy. Whoever contributes more has a bit more of a stake in things. So I've been with us a long time, so I've been contributing as much as possible. The president, of course, all of our ministers have contributed in great ways to the furtherance of Liberland and recognition of Liberland. So
Got you. So what are some of the, I mean, you don't have to run them all down. What are the the biggest key points of the Constitution you would say? Like, because you know, like the U.S. has, you know, right to bear arms, freedom of speech. Do you guys have anything similar like that?
Yes, we do. We've actually come up with by popular demand, which is not a way to write a constitution, but in other words, people said, well, we should have a shorter. We had a longer constitution, and some people said, well, maybe if it's shorter and more succinct, you know, that might be more meaningful. So
Mm-hmm.
we have two constitutions: a longer one with more legalistic explanations of how we define people's rights and responsibilities, and then now we have a shorter, more simpler one, which is more digestible, let's say. But yeah, we have the freedoms that you mentioned. That we're all about that. We're all about individual
Right.
rights. You should be able to do as you want, as long as you don't hurt anybody else or their property. As far as polluters could go, you can't pollute on someone else's property, or you can't
Right.
pollute in a river that flows through my property. So that's a way of preventing that sort of thing. And we can drill down into the details. The Constitution basically defines the role of government and what powers it has. If it doesn't mention it, it doesn't have it. So
Right.
it's like our philosophy is that the government exists secondary to the people. The people come first, and then the people choose the government voluntarily to express their will, and it's secondary to actually the existence of the citizens. And the
Mm-hmm.
citizens have the power to change the government anytime they want. Our elections are every 3 months, actually. And
Oh
if
wow,
you
that's interesting.
don't like the job, you can change your vote. You can actually change your vote at any time. It's just tallied at the end of the next 3 month cycle. And we have preference, rank choice voting. So if you like Justin and want to make him number one on your preferential list, you can put him number one. Or if you think someone else like Ivan, he's your number one preference, you could put him higher. And your merits give that a little bit more weight in the rank choice voting, in the
Right.
preference.
So the more merits you have, the more voting power you have, etc.
Sure. Sure, and that's a function of what you've contributed. It doesn't have to be money. It can be work. What have you done for to advance the agenda of Liberland or to push it forward? Have you
Got you.
marketing for Liberland or diplomatic outreach or arranging meetings for us? Or some other service or thing that has benefited Liberland, you can get credited for merits with merits.
Wow, that's amazing. I
I
love that whole system. I love
I
that whole
started
system.
a campaign actually last fall, and we're doing it again now. I'm asking Liberlanders to write letters to the embassy of Croatia in their country,
Mhm.
to protest their treatment of us, because they haven't treated us in the best way since we've been there. We've been Liberland has been around since 2015, but we actually got access to the land in August 6, 2023, last year. So a little over a year, we've been able to actually go to the land, which is
Wow.
a big step, because for a long time, okay, you have a government, you have a constitution, you have relations with other countries, but what about your territory? Can you set foot on the territory? And for a long
Yeah,
time, we couldn't.
you
For
need that.
Yeah, and the Croatians would have the patrol boats and the police. They wouldn't let anybody. They wouldn't let Croatians go there, Serbians, us, anybody.
What
But
was
now,
the reason for that? Was there any specific reason? Did they actually own the land, or they just?
no, they don't claim it. And the thing is, they know we have a case. They know we have merit to our case, to our claim on the land, because they don't want it, and it's never been part of Croatia. It
Right.
used to be part of Serbia, but Serbia said, "Well, we don't want it anymore. We think the river should be the border." And Croatia says, "Well, there's all this land over here on this side of Serbia that's still ours." So the dispute it's a larger dispute, and the one thing they agree upon is neither one of them want Liberland. So
Oh, there you go.
neither one of them have claimed it for over 25 years. So um, that's basically abandoned goods right there. In law,
Right.
that's bona vacantia. It's abandoned land.
Right. So they
Yeah,
were giving you hell for just for the purpose of doing that.
because they know we have a point. And
Right.
if we establish our, see, they don't have to recognize us. I think if they just treat us fairly and treat us as a community, we are a community. They don't have to recognize us as a government or a state. They just need to stop pushing us around like they've been doing.
Right. I've been seeing videos. It's crazy how
Oh
like
yeah,
you guys, yeah.
and they use. I tell you, yeah, I love Croatia. But the police there have orders to harass us and make things difficult, and they use dirty tricks to ban people from Croatia. Like if you're from the EU or Schengen zone, you can visit Liberland with very relatively little problem. If you're an American or British or Canadian or Russian or from somewhere else outside the EU or Schengen zone, they will say, "Oh, you're going to go camping illegally, or you're going to start a fire, so we're going to ban you from Croatia." So
Mm.
5 people, maybe a dozen people, have been banned from Croatia. Then all they wanted to do is go to Liberland, just visit.
Right. Right.
And some people, a couple of people I know, didn't even go to Liberland, and they got banned from Croatia because they were with us, they were interested in it, they were supporters or whatever. And we're challenging that. I've started filing complaints with the European Commission. Croatia is a member of the European Union, so they
Mm.
have to follow the laws and rights that have been established for EU citizens. And we're complaining on behalf of some of the EU people that they kicked out. So
Right.
you can if you're a European Union citizen, you can visit Liberland, no problem. You just show your passport and they let you in. However, they've prevented us from, or they've actually went in and stolen so a lot of our building materials. They stole a boat from us. They stole bicycles. They stole, generators, Starlink equipment, refrigerator, all sorts of cooking. They've stolen a lot of stuff from us just to make.
Wow.
And we filed suit against them in Croatia, and the court and the prosecutor came back to us and said, "Well, we can't do anything about it. It's not Croatia where it happened." So,
Oh, so they're just dismissing it because it's not on
right,
their land.
and so the Croatian police are getting away with it because it's not Croatia.
Right.
See,
Yeah. It's a
if it was
gray
in
area.
Croatia, they'd say, "Hey, you can't take my property," and they would have to go to court and answer for that. But since it's in a no man's land in their eyes, they can't do anything about it. So
Right.
we've got about quite a few cases in Croatian courts, and we've won the first dozen or so cases. They're really slow, so
Mm.
we've won the first 12 to 15 cases because they have no jurisdiction there.
Right. So what about like the police force, military? Are you guys working on that as well right now?
Well, we don't have a military. We don't have a standing army. Actually, the founding fathers of the United States did not foresee the U.S. having a standing army, but a militia which could be called up in the need of national emergency.
Mm.
And that's what they envisioned for the U.S. And that's more or less what we envisioned for Liberland. Um, for security, yes, we definitely want to have security. We think an Uber, like how Uber works. You
Right.
call an Uber. One's available. The closest one comes to you. Why don't we
Right.
have that for police and security? If you need, if someone's, if you feel someone might be dangerous or be threatening, why don't you call the nearest, most well trained and available security person to come and handle the situation?
Right.
So we're definitely working on that. Right now, since the Croatian presence is so heavy, um, it sort of keeps order there. So we're
Yeah.
thankful to them for example, Europe has seen a huge wave influx of migration over the past several years.
I'm
Millions
sure.
of people have come to Europe from the Middle East and different places, and like in Germany and France and Scandinavia, lots and lots of people have come. Thankfully, we haven't had that in Liberland. Now, a lot of people from all over the world are interested in Liberland and being Liberland citizens, but we haven't seen that big influx of migration. And of course, the Croatian police presence, maybe that prevents that. And
Yeah, they're kind of doing the job for you a little bit.
yeah,
They're
so
by way of
we
them.
thank them. They don't like us when we thank them for that, but we do thank them for that.
Right, right.
Of course, Croatia has an issue on its southern border with Bosnia. A lot of these migrants coming from Bosnia into Croatia, and they're once they get into Europe, they can go up to Germany or Scandinavia or France or somewhere where they'll get a lot of welfare benefits. That's one thing we don't have to attract people. We don't have a huge welfare state
Oh
to
yeah,
to give to people. So if you want to
just like the
come,
U.S. I mean, it's a free for all over here, as you can
yeah.
see. Like it's a
Now,
whole shit show.
if you want to come and work, we love that. We love people who want to come and work and contribute. We're very open to that, and we don't discriminate against people from anywhere. But you have to agree with the print. You have to respect other people's property, other people's rights.
Of
That's the
course.
one basic thing you should agree upon prior to being part of the Liberland community. Respect other people.
So if somebody wanted to migrate there and they wanted to essentially work for the Liberland dollars or the merits, they can do so.
It's a possibility, and it's been done. It's been done since the last year and a month or so. However, the caveat is uh, right now the Croatians are only letting people from the EU or the Schengen zone countries in. That's the members of the European Union, those countries that are members of the European Union, and the Schengen zone. Schengen zone is like Norway, Switzerland, um, you know, Ireland. UK is not in the Schengen anymore, so UK they don't get treated so well there.
Gotcha.
So if you're from Europe, I was there the first 8 days, and they didn't kick me out. So,
Hmm.
but I saw them starting to treat people from outside the EU a little differently.
Hmm.
So I don't test them. I don't want to get a ban in my passport from them.
Right, right.
So
Exactly.
I'm over here in our village on the Serbian side, which is totally fine. You know.
Right, right. So do you
So
guys like own that village or you guys just have an
yeah,
establishment there?
it's ours. We have the Liberland flag flying right outside. If it was daytime, I could show you.
Oh wow.
It's a pretty large property. There's a big lake here, and we have like 20 cabins, so maybe like 16 cabins. Building some more. You can stay here. You can camp here. You can. I'm in the main hall where I am more often than not. Um, so it's a pretty big piece of property. I don't know how many acres it is. Maybe I'll have to look it up. I think we're 20 hectares, which I have to look up the conversion to
Yeah, the
acres.
conversion. Got
It's
you.
pretty big. It's pretty
Yeah,
big.
that sounds really amazing. That sounds cool.
Everybody's welcome to come here. If you can come to Serbia, Americans don't need a visa to come here. It's no problem. I've come in and out many times.
Okay.
And thinking about establishing residence here. Um, but when you buy property or open a business, that's one avenue of establishing residence in Serbia. A lot of people, a lot of Americans have done that.
Right.
There's a lot of opportunity. The language is pretty difficult. I'm doing a pretty good job trying to speak to people, but that's one thing. But a lot of people, especially younger people, speak English. So
Okay. Well,
yeah,
yeah, that's good.
yeah.
So what's the process of becoming a citizen? Like, do you have to go through a long process? Because like here in the US to migrate legally, it's like a 10-year process. You have to wait long and do all these different things. What's the process of becoming a citizen there?
Well, you have to. It's a lot quicker, I tell you. But earning or obtaining 5,000 merits is the minimum threshold to become a citizen. And
Hmm.
basically, we do a check. We don't. Of course, we would expect someone to agree with our basic principles. Don't hurt people. Don't take their stuff. Not have a criminal record, and by that I mean a serious criminal record like a felony, as opposed to a misdemeanor. Like who cares about parking tickets or something like that?
You're right. Exactly.
But if there's a violent felony on your record or a fraudulent, that might cause some concerns. So we want to be a community that where we can trust each other. So that would probably be the one area where, um, we might be have some filters there. But it's very easy to become a citizen. You get 5,000 merits through either work or donation, of course, or doing something great for Liberland. And
Right.
then, you're signed up and you get onboarded, and we'll onboard you onto the blockchain. And we have about 1,000 citizens already.
Got you. Got you. So outside of uh, the current citizens that you have, do you have like remote citizens? Are
Oh,
those
yeah,
thousand
for sure.
citizens?
Most people are somewhere else. Like Switzerland has remote citizens. They don't live in Switzerland all the time, but they're a Swiss citizen, so they can come and go as they please. Most of our people live somewhere else. Most people who are citizens, but we have a core who are here and who are working on things. And but no, there's citizens all over the world. Our applicants are from every single country in the world, even North Korea, if you can believe that. We have
Wow. No
Liberland
way.
applicants in North Korea.
I'm
So
pretty sure they would rather go anywhere else
yeah,
besides North Korea.
yep, yep. I agree.
Interesting. So are they able to apply online, or
Yes,
how do they
you
do
can
that?
apply online on at liberland.org and just sign up. It's free to sign up, and you'll get our communications. And on the website, you can see what the latest news is. Um, you know, I write articles. The Minister of Justice writes articles that are published on there. We keep people up to date with our current events. And then on the blockchain site, once you get onboarded onto our blockchain, that's where you have your wallet. That's where you can look at your staking. You can stake your merits or Liberland dollars. That's where you vote. That's where you can propose a referendum. That's where you can do a whole bunch of other things. You could open a bit with an e-resident. Actually, you can be a citizen, and you can also be an e-resident, which is kind of a citizenship light. I think
Okay.
um, I think the current cost of e-residency is $150, and you get a card with your photo and a QR code on it, and you can open a business in the Liberland environment. So, of course,
Mm,
we don't force people to pay taxes, but there's a fee for the card, and once you have
right.
the card, you can open. There's no recurring fee; it's a one-time thing. Uh,
Okay.
you can open a business in the Liberland environment, and you can have access to actually quite a few things, which is pretty neat. And we're expanding the benefits of being an e-resident. Like if you're an e-resident, you could come here to Arc Liberland Village at any time, and have a coffee or a tea or chill out. Um we're trying to extend that to our offices, like our Washington D.C. office, or the place we have in Argentina. Um, in Belgrade, we actually have an office there. We're switching offices, so we want to have that as a place where people can come and hang out. If you're a Liberland representative, you can open a place or a space or make your existing space also into a Liberland office and have meetups there. If you do that, you can also earn merits. If you open an office for Liberland in San Diego or Miami or New York, and have it as an official Liberland office, you can earn some merits for that. And
Wow, that's interesting.
and that's another way to build up your merits.
Right, right. Got you. So it's a not only a system to where you just apply or pay in, but it's a system to where you're feeding the ecosystem and the betterment of Liberland,
Yeah,
which totally makes sense. And you're advancing, the efforts. And I think that's a great program. That initiative needs to be looked at a lot of different countries, because I feel like right now, um, these old systems, they don't work anymore, and that's why we have so much turmoil right now. And we have so many things that we always have to update laws and different things of that nature to keep up with the technology and keep up with the times and how people change. So being that you guys are a country that's barely 10 years old, you guys are ahead of the curve on all this stuff and getting ahead of all these, problems. And I think these countries need to take a page out of your book for sure.
Thank you. Well, to facilitate some of the things we're talking about, we also have the Liberland app, which to my great satisfaction is now available for iOS. We have the Liberland app, which you can download if you're a citizen because you need to log in, and that shows you where the Liberlanders are, and
Oh, wow.
we can post jobs on the Liberland app, and I've posted some jobs and filled some positions on there as well. So if I want to see how many Liberlanders there are in Europe, I can look people up. And I mean, not every Liberlander is on here. You have to sign up for the app first.
Right.
So if I want to have a meetup in Poland or Czech Republic or France or England, I can see who's on the app and where they are and get in touch with them. And I can post jobs. I can respond to jobs. I can, there's quite a few things you can do on the app. Like I said, I just got it because they just made it available for iOS, and you
Right.
can, it's sort of a social network too. And
I'll
alert.
definitely download that for sure. That's really cool. I
Yeah,
love that. That's
super.
really cool.
That's what. Yeah, I'm just getting into it myself. We've had it for Android for a while, so I'm just getting into it right now.
Got
So,
you. Got you. So total overall, how many citizens and e-residents are a part of Liberland, like all together?
okay, there are over 700,000 applicants from all over the world, and that's just people who've signed up on the website. There
Mm.
are 3,000 e-residents, more or less. And those people who've paid $100 and gotten the e-residency card. There are about 1,000 citizens, um, and that makes you eligible for a Liberland passport. Now, the passport isn't accepted universally, but it's actually some countries have accepted it as a travel document. Right now, we don't recommend that you go and do that unless you want to do it at your own risk, because who knows? Some immigration official might say, "Oh, I've never heard of this. This is a fake passport. I'm going to take it away from you." Uh,
Right.
that might happen. So we don't recommend you use it as a travel document. What we use it for is when people like myself or other diplomats meet with diplomats and people from other countries, we present that as our credential. This is my
Oh,
passport, for example. This is who I am. I'm representing Liberland, and of course, it's a cool thing to have. I mean, and
right.
some countries have accepted it. Some Pacific countries, some Latin American countries, you can use it as an ID. In some countries, Colombia, you can use it as an ID. It's actually on the list of IDs that are accepted. Um, uh, I've used it. Actually, I flew from the UK to Canary Islands, and I showed my Liberland passport boarding the plane, and it was fine. Vit, our
Wow.
president, has used it when he arrived in Boston. Uh, he showed it at Logan Airport, and he was allowed into the country with his Liberland passport. People have entered Serbia. People have entered. Um, we have I'm collecting pictures of the entry stamps in the Liberland
Mm.
passports that people have gotten. So, Somaliland in Africa accepts the Liberland passport, and you don't need a visa. As an
Wow.
American passport, you need a visa to go to Somaliland. But because of our special relationship with them, you don't need a visa. You can enter with your Liberland passport.
Oh, wow. So slowly but surely,
Yeah,
it's getting there.
that's how
That's
it's done.
amazing.
That's
I
how it's
love
done.
that. Very cool. Very cool.
It's
Well,
exciting too, and it's quite an adventure. Being involved in Liberland is just so much fun, and you meet so many interesting people and really cool people as well. And there's a lot of opportunity here, and the stuff we're doing right now is going to have such tremendous impact on how things develop in the future. And the
right.
future definitely looks bright. And there's been some hiccups along the way, like the problems like we were talking about, but there's so much opportunity.
Yeah. And I think that comes with anything starting new, whether it be a business, a country, you're going to have your trials and tribulations
Mhm.
because that's what it takes to get to the promised land. And get you to the next point of, where you want to be. So I think that, uh, again, being in the times that we're in, it's like the perfect time to start something like this, to where, all the hard work and all the trial and error has been done previously with other countries, and all the stuff that they had to deal with. You kind of like leapfrog that into, having, small little minute problems, like, accessing your land, which you finally got and whatnot, and getting over humps like that. But nothing to where you had like to fight for your, your freedom, as far as, a civil war and all this crazy stuff. So I think, being that we're way past those times now, is just, a blessing to where,
It
where
is.
you are,
It truly is, Maverick. And we have hiccups too, like with the voting system, like with it. That's why we ran a test, so you can work out the bugs, so you can tweak it, so it goes more smoothly. Like in the first test vote, we didn't know who everybody was because they had the username that they picked instead of their real name. It's like, well,
got
gee,
you.
who am I voting for? I'm not going to vote for that person. So we fixed that. We ironed that out as a very small example. But we've got so many smart people involved working on a system for smart contracts, for example, for putting property and real estate on our blockchain, for putting car registry or boat
I was gonna
registry.
ask you about that. So you guys have plans to like build like real estate and have like car registration and all that stuff?
Certainly, certainly. Oh, most definitely.
Okay, cool. So final question. What are the future plans, going into, development and all these other things? Like, what does it look like, Liberland from, now 10 years down the road?
Well, 10 years down the road, I don't know. I would like to see us as a functioning, prosperous, and peaceful community between Croatia, Serbia, and Hungary on the Danube. I think we have a lot of things speaking in our favor. We're not a coup, or we didn't try to take over something that somebody else owned. We're not like a coup d'état or a military junta or anything like that. And the country that used to own Liberland didn't want it anymore. So
Right.
I think there's a lot of things from an international perspective, especially from international law perspective, that there's no other claim on the territory. So why would a negotiation give the territory to someone who doesn't want it? We're the ones who claimed it. So I think we have a very solid foundation on which to claim Liberland. So maybe in 5 or 10 years, we'll be an up and coming country here in the Balkans. I mean, there's an not every country is recognized off the bat, and some countries are semi recognized. Like, for example, take Somaliland, like I talked about. We're friends with them, but they're not universally recognized by other
Right.
countries. Other countries think Somalia is the country in charge of that area, but it's not. Somalia is a failed state. Somaliland, however, is a very stable country with property rights and a constitution and a free market. Uh, and they're the ones who are the real country in that area in the Horn of Africa.
Right.
Somalia, per se, is a failed state. So more and more countries, UAE, Ethiopia, even the UK, is looking at recognizing Somaliland, and some folks in the US as well. So maybe we'll be in the same position where we're negotiating with other countries about diplomatic recognition. Uh,
Right.
and that'll be just great. That's my goal, is to see more countries recognize Liberland as a nation state equal to all the other ones on the world stage.
There you go, for sure. Well, it was amazing talking to you. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for the great insight. And being that, this is an up and coming country, and we don't see too many of that like popping up everywhere. Uh, Being that this is the freest country in the world, it's very exciting. And, I'm definitely, glad to pursue something with you guys as well, because I think what you guys are doing is very cutting edge, and it's something that's very needed in these times, because we have wars going on left and right. We have like we said, voter fraud. Like a lot of people are just anti-system, anti-government. So it needs to be the other way around to where,
Well,
you know,
thank you for your very kind and wise and complimentary words. I really appreciate that, Maverick. How about those elections in the U.S. with just around the corner, right?
a couple of weeks away, man. It's
Oh
gonna be
man,
crazy. It's
it's gonna
gonna
be
be
a nail
crazy.
biter. I check
I,
the Real Clear Politics polls every day to see what the horse race is like in those swing states. You know.
Yeah, it's tricky, man. It's tricky. Like it on one side, it kind of looks like Kamala's gonna win, and then the other week, it's like a landslide. You never know where these people are getting their data from. It's gonna be interesting. That's for sure. It's not gonna be anything short of that. So, yeah, we got about what 2 or 3 weeks away, I believe. So I think this is probably gonna be the most important election we've ever had, just of the climate and how like crazy and hostile and how everything is right now. Um, but yeah, I just feel like either way, um, it's going to have a big reaction for sure.
One thing that's interesting, and the first time around, Trump wasn't really big on crypto, but he's been talking to some crypto people, and
Right.
he said some good things recently, and he said he wanted to free Ross Ulbricht on day one. So if he's elected and whether he does or not, who knows? But the fact that he said that was really encouraging to me. Of course, Ross Ulbricht was put in jail for life for being involved with the Silk Road, and basically they
Yeah.
framed him for something he didn't do, and just because he created the Silk Road, which allowed people.
Yeah. They completely railroaded him and made they wanted to make an example out of him, so it never happens again. It was just clear and plain as that. There was no real crimes that he committed. He created a platform. So it's like saying like if a crime happens on X or Instagram or somebody's DMing on Facebook and they're buying some illegal stuff, it's like so we're gonna go after Meta now or like how does
Right,
that work? Because that's the same concept that
because it
happens
happens
every
now.
day.
Sure.
So he just set the stage, and for whatever reason, they wanted to make an example out of him, maybe because it was so early in the game. And I think that they never wanted that to happen again. Um, but yeah, all that stuff was really bogus for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Un-
But
Unknown things scare people, so that's why there's the basis for that kind of reaction to it.
exactly,
We're not
exactly,
pretending that shady stuff doesn't go on in some corners of the web, but why not ban burner phones? Because a lot of illegal transactions occur using burner phones.
exactly, exactly. And then you have banks. TD Bank just got found out they were working with the cartel and laundering money, $3 billion. Like they just had this whole thing that just came out. It's like, well, who do we prosecute? They're still in business. They're still going on. Banks do illegal stuff all the time. So we're gonna shut down the whole banking system, like, or if money is being laundered by whomever, we're gonna shut down the monetary system. It's like, no, that's a part of the good and the bad. You got to take it how it comes, but you can't just blame one single person for all these transactions and everything else. Yeah, he can implement stuff and try to put some safety precautions and some guardrails up, but that's still it's still gonna happen. There's illegal transactions going on Facebook and Instagram right now.
Well,
So,
that's exactly right. Let me say that the most criminal thing the banking system does is print money out of thin air, and it devalues the rest of the currency. And also, the moral hazard of bailing out the banks when they make investments that go south, we, the taxpayers, have to pay for that. And that's
right.
another criminal aspect of the banking system. In Liberland, we don't have that. We would never make the citizens liable for the mistakes of a company or a bank or what have
Exactly, exactly. And then as far as the Liberland dollar, um, there's no more that can be created. How many are in circulation? Like, what's the max cap of it?
you. There is a cap on it. I don't have the figures in front of me. I'll have to get those back to you. But there's a cap on that, and the growth of it is limited by law, and there's this fixed amount of merits. It's kind of like Bitcoin. There's a fixed amount of
Got you.
Bitcoin.
So no more can ever be minted is what the
Right.
point is. So there
Right.
you go. So that completely solves the inflationary, acts that happen constantly in America. So they're like, oh, we need to solve a problem or send $300 billion to Ukraine. Let's just print up some money. And
Right.
then it's like, well, who picks up the tab for that? People don't understand economics when every time a dollar is printed, it devalues the rest of the circulation and they just send it away to different countries and doing this and that. And it's just like, well, you guys, somebody has to pay for this.
And people's savings is depleted and inflation rises, and that, so your purchasing power is worth a lot less when they do that. Whatever the next crisis is, of course, Ukraine is great because they can just print more money, and that's however much we give them is by how much our currency is devalued by, and just add that up to all government programs and the next crisis and the next war and the next pandemic that they're going to come out with.
Right, exactly. So yeah, they're just kicking the can down the road. So I don't know what's going on. Like I don't know what's gonna happen here, but yeah, I'll definitely be talking to you more about getting some type of e-residence
Yeah,
or
sure.
citizenship there for sure. So you
I
guys
would
got to
look
figure it out.
forward to that. It'll be great to welcome you as one of our community. I think you already are one of our community. So
Appreciate it.
follow us on our site. Main site is liberland.org. We're on all the social media, or most of them, Facebook and Instagram and the Twitter and all that stuff. Or X, sorry. We're on there. Look for us, and give Maverick a follow too if you don't already got people.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, you guys. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Thomas, as well. It's always a pleasure. And yeah, make sure you guys go check them out. Go to was it Liberland.org? You said Liberland,
Liberland.org or
Liberland.org.
gov.ll.land, but liberland.org is a little easier to remember.
Okay, so yeah, make sure you guys go check them out. The freest country in the world, and they're making some moves, you guys. So make sure you stay tuned. Keep an eye on them. Until next time, peace.
Bye-bye.